All right, everybody. I always do this in class to show everybody how to do the auto quote assignment. Yeah, it's all written within the assignment. I think that'll work. But it might go a little bit easier if you can see this. So what I'd recommend, download the assignment, have it open, and go ahead, do your own version as you're watching this. And I think that's going to minimize the amount of time it takes you to complete. A couple things before we get started. Don't give your social security number. We'll get to that. I'll talk about it, but please don't do that. And then we're going to be getting quotes for two different vehicles. You're going to have to go through this process twice because we're comparing. I would say start with the vehicle that you currently drive, and then think about your dream car, and let's compare the difference in cost of insurance. At least if we do it that way, that information is worth something to you. But you go ahead, you choose whatever you'd like to do there. So we're going to go to progressive.com. All right, not because I endorse them, but because they will allow you to get a quote without having to give up too much in terms of information. So you got to click on auto, enter your zip code where your car is principally garaged. You're going to want to do that. And then we go ahead and get a quote. And sometimes this engine takes a little bit of time to switch between screens. So they're going to ask your name and address. I don't give my real name. They will contact you for marketing. So I always, it's nice that Justin Bieber lets me use his name when these things come up. Go ahead and enter your age. Remember, age is a rating factor, right? So you have to wonder about that too. Then they're going to want your address. I make that up too. So I'm going to be 123 Elm Street. My apologies to who actually lives there, that they're going to get some mail from Progressive addressed to Justin Bieber. Then they want to know about your vehicle. This should be the car that you currently drive. Okay, I'm going to use my 2015 Nissan Versa. So I'll go ahead and find that. Body type. Well, yeah, it's it's not a station wagon. Come on, I'm fancy. Primary use, this is going to be a rating factor too. We'll talk about this in the lecture that talks about auto quote rating factors. You're going to see them all right here. This is the category that we see. Personal is me because to and from work, that's primarily how I'm using the vehicle. Not so much now, but primary, that's how it gets used. Look at this. Hey, if you do ride sharing with Uber or Lyft, they'll rate you right now for that. We're not going to worry about that for this assignment. Go ahead and put in whether you own or lease or finance the vehicle and how long you've owned it. And then we'll go ahead and, okay, we are going to look for two vehicles, but you don't do it here. This would give you a single quote for both vehicles. That's not what we want. We want to get a quote for one vehicle by itself, and then we're going to have to go back to the previous step and change it to our dream car so that we can get a different insurance quote and we can tell the price difference between the two. If you do them together, you won't realize which vehicle is contributing how much cost to the total, right? Okay, so gender is a rating factor. We talked about that. Marital status, put single even if you're married. And the reason is if you put married, then they're going to ask for information on your spouse, which is fine, but you're just going to be making that up anyway, and it's going to complicate the quote process. So that's why I say just make it be single. Go ahead and put in your highest level of education. Do not enter your social security number. If you were actually shopping for auto insurance, they would run a credit check. Remember, credit score is a rating factor, right? And that's how they get it, is through your social security number. All your credit files are linked to your social security number. Don't give it here. You can get the quote without having to do that. They want to know if you own or rent. They want to know if you've moved in the last 2 months. Say no, even if that's not true. Let's keep this uncomplicated. Valid driver's license, years license more than 3. Do that. Make it easy. And then I'm going to say don't do accidents or tickets. If you really want to know, then yeah, go ahead, enter all this stuff and it'll impact your rate and then you'll know. This makes it less complicated. And we can get an idea of what the price is without being specific and without giving up personal information. That's kind of personal information. I don't want to report to a website that I've had an accident if I'm not really shopping for auto insurance. That's going to get linked to me somehow, or maybe it'll get linked to Justin Bieber. Who knows? Okay. So they say, wait a minute, how about you give us, we couldn't get your credit history. Yeah, because I didn't give you my social security number. And because I'm using somebody else's name, I'm not going to do that anyway. So yeah, they ask again for your social security number. Again, don't give it to them and you'll be fine. Okay, you do want to answer yes, you have auto insurance today. And you can say however long you want, but the reason you want to do that is because it'll automatically fill in this first request that I've got for you. When you look at the auto quote assignment, the first thing we have to figure out, the price for 25/50/25 bodily injury and property damage coverage. Well, if you say you have previous auto insurance and that's your current limit, it'll automatically populate that for you, and that's helpful. Say no to the Progressive other policies that you have. When would you want to start your policy? It's got to be something somewhere in the future. I'm just going to pick December 1st, nothing special about that. Then they want to know your email address, so I give them a throwaway. If you don't have a throwaway email address, now is a good time to have one. They will contact you on occasion through that. So for me, I giggle every time I get emails for Justin Bieber, but whatever, you do you. How many residents live in the home? Make sure you say one here. Let's remember who's an insured under the policy. Anybody who lives in your house is insured. So that's what they're asking that for here. Let's just keep it simple and say that there's one. Oh, Snapshot is a special device that you can plug into your car, and then it'll report back to the insurance company how you drive, like how aggressively you accelerate and how much you have to slam on the brakes or take wild turns. It's more complicated. There's a physical device involved to say, no, we're not going to deal with that. We're just looking for a quote. They're trying to sell you insurance, right? So they're going to ask, hey, do you want homeowners and renters? And no, we don't need that. We're just looking for auto. We're just getting a quote today. So yeah, you got to sort through a lot of stuff before you actually get to where we need to be. Okay, here's the thing. This is not your price, okay? This is your price for 6 months, total $175. And if you pay in full, your total price is $158. So that's really what we're looking for, but we need to separate out the components of that cost. So what I like about Progressives is it does it for you. You don't have to do any math. The price for 25/50/25, hey, it's right here. 25/50/25. How much is it? $153 every 6 months. So it's not this price up here. You're looking at the components down here. And then the next one says, well, what about uninsured, underinsured? 25/50. That's only $5 every 6 months. So uninsured motorist coverage is really cheap. So if you're thinking, hey, I want to save some money, let's strip out these coverages I don't need. They don't cost that much. You're not saving that much by getting rid of it. So that's something to be thinking about. Okay, so the next thing is comprehensive and collision. If you look on the sheet, go back. How much is it for comprehensive with a $500 deductible? How much is it for collision with a $500 deductible? So let's go do those. Well, right now, the quote they gave me doesn't have comprehensive or collision. And depending on the mileage, maybe I don't want it. I mean, if this car's got 200,000 miles on it, it's probably not worth a whole lot. Then I probably wouldn't spend the money. But you can find out here if you want a $500 deductible for other than collision, that's going to cost you $28, right? So go ahead and update. That will add it back, and you'll see it. So here we go. Okay, they're going to assign the cost a little bit differently, but that's fine. You've got the idea. Collision, let's go ahead and edit and add that as well. All right. So I want collision coverage at $500. There you go, $51. That's already there. You can put that $51 right here. Price for collision coverage with a $500 deductible, put $51 right there. If you've got a 2015 Nissan Versa, your numbers are going to be slightly different unless you have exactly the same inputs. Don't do it, you want to do it as if it's you. Don't do it as if it's me. That doesn't make any sense. Let's get something that's accurate for you, and then this information is worth something. Next thing we got to figure out, two things. Number one, what does it cost to increase the limits of bodily injury liability from $25.50 to $250,500? So 10 times the coverage. Will it cost 10 times the premium? Let's find out. So we go here, and then the next thing we're going to do is collision up to $1,000 deductible instead. So, which you could do from here if you wanted. I mean, you could say, well, it cost me $51 for a $500 deductible on collision. It cost me $34 if I'm willing to go to $1,000. That the difference is $17. So if you're trying to save a little bit of time, you could do it that way. Otherwise, if you're going to do it this way, the big takeaway from this assignment is how much more does it cost to get $250,500 for liability? right? Because my contention is 2550, that's too low. So what if you went all the way up to 250, 500? Hey, that costs you an extra $46 every 6 months. So it's given to you right there. You can put that right in your worksheet, $46 right here for the Nissan, the 200,015 Nissan Versa driven by me, somebody my age, my education, single person, no other drivers. But it gives me an idea where we're at. Okay, well, great. You're done with the first vehicle. Now you go back and you do the exact same thing for the second vehicle. So back out of the quote, go ahead and restart it, go to Progressive and start over, and then choose a different vehicle. And here I'd say use your dream car. Use a car that you could legitimately see yourself upgrading to. And then you'll find out right now what's the difference in coverage. And I'm only asking you here for 250, 500, and then also the collision coverage, because usually people move to nicer cars. What should happen to your collision premium when you go to a nicer car? Well, if it got totally destroyed, it's going to cost more to fix, right? So you should expect a higher premium there if it's a nicer car that you're switching to. And so then you just have to fill out the questions here and answer them in complete sentences. And if you do a good job with these questions, you'll notice there really aren't any right or wrong answers. They're opinion questions. If you do a good job here in answering complete sentences and don't take shortcuts by just answering yes or no and leaving out the why or why not, you will get full credit. So everybody should be getting 30 out of 30 on this assignment. Usually the only reason people don't is because they either fail to do the assignment altogether or they don't answer some of these questions. So that's up to you. Go ahead and do it right. Make sure you get full credit. Okay, that's enough rambling about the assignment. This will get you enough to get through. If you have any questions, let me know by email and I'll be glad to help.